Again, Evidence Paranormal travels to Illinois to the very haunted Ashmore Estates. And it doesn't take long for the two to collect clues to the tales of activity. With its many deaths and troubled history, one cannot deny the existence of paranormal energies inside these old walls. But despite our interest in exploring the unknown, just who is really more curious of who? There are those that have more faith in science than that of any high spiritual being. That if the afterlife was real, then science would have proven its existence by now. But when the supernatural invites itself into their homes, who do you suppose they quickly turn back to for protection? This trip we're once again heading into Illinois, to Ashmore Estates, once a badly run poor farm, psychiatric hospital, mental institution, and convalescent home, in the attempt to make contact and find evidence, no matter how minute, of any spirits still roaming its long halls and corridors. With its history of starvation, horrible living conditions, and death, we felt this was an opportunity we could not afford to pass on. But could it be possible? Could there still be energies left behind of the souls that once resided there? And if there is, do they think they're still alive? And how will they perceive us? For a little over 3 hours, we drove the Illinois countryside, passing nothing more than farm vehicles driving to their neighboring fields. As we finally arrived at our destination, we were very relieved to see what condition it was in. Around mid-June of 2014, we had heard this grand building had a fight with some severe weather and walked away with a bloody nose. It was obvious the repairs and restoration were doing quite well. The history of this structure begins around 1857, when Coles County started what was known as a poor farm, with the purpose to shelter the poor, old, and distressed people in this community. Unfortunately, it closed many times due to complications of business and code violations. Between 1870 and 1879, there were as many as 32 recorded deaths who are said to be buried somewhere north of these grounds. Another 60 to 100 more are buried elsewhere in a nearby pauper cemetery. One of the residents remembered is 76-year-old Joe Bloxam. One late evening in June of 1921, this frail man was walking home alongside a nearby set of railroad tracks. It's believed that as he was walking, he must have been sideswiped by a passing train, resulting in serious injuries to his arm and shoulder. A motorist driving by saw Joe and immediately dropped him off at the gates of the farm. However, because of his age, the trauma must have been far too much for him. Sadly, the very next morning, he died. There's also the heartbreaking story of a little girl named Elva Skinner, who died in a fire within the original building built in 1870. Her spirit is said to still wander here as well as others. They're just the few that gave birth to the tales of spirits seen at Ashmore Estates. Over the years of operation, reports of deplorable living conditions forced the county to condemn the poor farm in 1911. Rebuilt in 1916, it was again back in operation for several decades until it was sold in 1959 by Coles County to Ashmore Estates Incorporated, which reopened it under their name, but this time as a private psychiatric hospital. But even then, the owner of Ashmore Estates couldn't keep the bad luck distant, as it too fell victim and was forced to permanently close its doors in 1987. 19 years later, in 2006, the building was purchased by Scott Kelly, who attempted to renovate the building. To finance this vision, he provided flashlight tours and overnight stays during the off-season. But in January of 2013, Ashmore Estates was struck by a violent windstorm with enough force to tear off the roof, putting Scott's plans on hold indefinitely. Then on May 3rd of 2014, Ashmore Estates was bought once again. Now under the ownership of Robin and Norma Terry, they have since taken huge steps to repair the roof, clean up, and restore Ashmore Estates back to what it once was. Tonight we're attending an event hosted by American Hauntings, in which we'll participate in a private late-night tour, followed by an investigation where we'll break up into groups and roam the floors in search of whatever spirits we may find. To us, it felt like this location gave off energies and sensations characteristic to a place crawling with spirit activity. Whether they were friendly or malevolent, we just had to wait to find out. The tour was hosted by Lauren Hamilton of American Hauntings and David H. Lowery, also known as the Paranormal Highwayman. This gentleman, with his years of experiences investigating, stories, and sense of humor, re-educated us on the true facts of the estate and to disregard the information given by the media concerning demonic energies residing here. Oh, and did you notice the name on his t-shirt? On the tour, he mentioned several names of deceased residents and employees who lived and worked there, as possible insight as to who we might be interacting with throughout the evening. As on all the events we attend, we carry EMF devices to evaluate where the most active hotspots are. It was strange, though, how for one moment my millimeter actually showed 666 on its dial. It was a shame I wasn't fast enough to take a picture of it, though, before it changed. No matter what television would like you to believe, you should never conclude the presence of anything demonic. Throughout the history of Ashmore Estates and its many ups and downs, could the spirits of the dead still exist within every inch of the very materials that make up these many walls and staircases? If that's true, then I hope we can make that connection here tonight. After touring the 3 floors, we regrouped in the main room. Soon, the hosts would be turning off all the lights throughout the entire building. Let's see who's home. We're once again in Illinois, at the dark and mysterious Ashmore Estates, where after completing a thorough tour of all 3 floors, we're finally released on our own, to wander and investigate in search of any spirits or entities willing to peacefully interact with us. As soon as we could, we got as far away as possible from the contaminating sounds produced by the other guests. A very difficult task indeed, but one very necessary to avoid false evidence. We walked through the dark rooms, attempting to familiarize ourselves and memorize the layout. But we couldn't help but wonder what this building looked like during its occupation as a poor farmer hospital. Eventually, we found ourselves in the boiler room, where I began sensing a change in the air, possibly that of a presence. We were not about to leave this quiet, cold, damp lower level without investigating it first. Using our Alvilus 3, we attempted for 20 minutes to determine whether our senses were accurate and to convince any spirits present to trust and speak with us.
Can you let us know you're here?
Can you tell us one of the colors that are on these lights that we have? Come on, give us a color. Okay, I'll tell you. There's red, blue, green, and white. Can you say one of those words? Okay, guess not.
Unfortunately, we had no such luck and decided to move back to the upper floors and remain away from the others. At the other end of the main hallway, we entered a lower room and invited the resident spirits to accompany us.
Nope, it is not. Hello.
I hear a cricket.
After setting up a camera, I positioned myself at the furthest wall and began a conversation.
Go over this way.
I'd like to reach out to somebody. If possible.
The cricket or dialing sound that we were hearing demanded that I check to see if I could visually detect its origin or debunk it as something electronically created or of insect in nature.
No electrical wiring.
Nathan,
What?
sounds like it's coming from up here.
Would anybody like to set this off? I'm honestly here, in all honesty, to reach out.
Unable to find the source of the clicking or make contact, we chose to move on.
Could have been where you gripped it at.
With the night and the investigation just beginning, I began thinking about different theories of what we call spirit communication. What if we're not talking to the dead at all, but instead something more incredible, such as speaking through a dimensional doorway or portal into the past or future, which in turn makes us the ghosts to those on the other side.
want me going in here. A lot of instruments on me. Trigger one of them. Trigger one of these instruments I'm carrying on me. Get one of them to talk. Light up. Alarm or something. Come on.
There was no doubt in my mind. The energy here was aware of us. The air just generated that feeling. I felt followed, yet when I'd give them the opportunity to connect with us, they seemed uninterested or not ready at that moment.
An old piano.
Anybody want to play us a tune?
Can you hit one key? Just one key.
My
I
camera
don't know.
drained in there.
I just took it that,
I have no power on my camera.
and then right after that, there's that. And you guys weren't standing behind me to make mine.
No, there's no. Pointing our cameras that way.
I know. There's that, and then there's that.
Let's go down here and see if we can get something.
But that would have been lit up right there.
Did you say up? What did you say? It just said up. Maybe we need to go upstairs.
Say it again.
Okay. Better be somebody here. Oh, there is. I was like, I just saw half a person walk in the doorway. I was like, really?
Was the obelisk actually trying to get me to look up, or was it just coincidence?
I think this is the elevator. Yeah. That's all I can say. Can you put a shadow through that light? I'm interested in talking with someone here. Anyone?
If you're someone who believes and trusts their own senses, then it's obvious this building reeks of spirit and habitation. We just need to draw them out of the shadows. Time now is starting to pass more swiftly. Presently, we're more familiar with the floor plan than we were a few hours ago. The halls, despite their growing calmness, begin resonating opportunity to speak to whomever of the non-living will listen and hopefully reply. As the other guests move and vacate to other floors, we begin moving in. We returned to areas visited earlier to verify whether the energies we felt were the result of any open electrical systems or unshielded junction boxes.
Didn't they say this gave him the willies?
What Mary was trying to prove was whether these wires or junction boxes were active or not.
Well, electricity. There's a lot of electrical boxes up here.
Any unshielded boxes, wires, cables can give off high electromagnetic frequencies, which could cause you to experience nervousness, anxiety, which could also lead to hallucinations. And from the looks of it, this was not evident here, nor was it anywhere else. This validates that our experiences could very likely have been of paranormal origins. Once again, we were on the move in this dark building, bypassing many rooms we had already investigated. We stopped at one point to discuss our next move, and much to our surprise, we discovered we weren't alone.
Yeah, me? What about me? What about?
That door just moved. That door just moved.
And as I tried to examine the situation, I found my answer.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's no flow of air. Air.
Yeah.
There's no flow of air. Air.
Yeah.
There's no flow of air. Air.
Yeah.
A direct repeat of a word I just spoke. We made a third trip to the nurse's station there on the third floor. This time, we entered the back room.
I got a feeling somebody's here. Don't ask me why. Somebody here? Make a beep. We'd like to talk to somebody. Just a couple moments. Just a couple moments of your time. It's not much to ask. Please?
If he sits it down in the chair, would that help?
That was me. Okay, here. Tell you what. I'm gonna sit over here.
Like most of our evening, they interact when they want. It's your job to be patient and continue. Either they're going to reply, tease you, or flat out ignore you. Always remember who's really in charge.
What's in there?
Bathroom. Broken toilet.
Okay.
We made our last routine exchange of batteries for our equipment and inspected the cameras before pressing on for our final hour of the evening. We ventured into some of the exterior rooms, but found the extreme winds from outside to be rather noisy. We spent about 20 minutes performing EVP sessions in random locations.
Did you like to play ball? Or hopscotch?
You smell that? Smell like candles?
Our investigation was nearing the end. We needed at least one more hit before stopping.
Oh, it's raining.
This location was proving reluctant to open up to us, like many others before. Nonetheless, Ashmore Estates is a home for those who passed away, but have not moved on.
You smell that? Smell like candles?
But we weren't satisfied with smells, knock sounds, or even cold spots. We wanted more.
Oh, it's raining.
We left the third floor to make our final attempt of the evening in hopes of at least some kind of intelligent paranormal response from those here on the other side.
Quit. Now. Somebody's here. Would you be willing to trigger this? Been doing that? It's right in my hand. Anyway. Any of the patients here, you're more than welcome.
All night I felt someone was curious of us. I had hopes they would trust us eventually and reach out.
That ain't me.
I know.
Someone's here. Come on, you can do it. Can you talk to us? Can you do that again? Come on,
It's not gonna hurt you, we promise.
keep doing
It lights up pretty colors if you touch it.
it. Okay, maybe you want me to do it back. I just did it. Can you do that again? Just like I did, just what you did. I'll turn this one on. Let me turn this one. Oh. You did it again.
Thank you.
Wow. Look at this one. This guy too. Okay, you make a choice. I'll put both of them right here. You tell me which one.
A lot of times they remain silent in between responses, possibly to recharge
Touch it all.
in the efforts to manifest.
Yeah. You do. Oh. You like that one instead. Let me see. See if I can get you to talk to me. What's your name? Can you speak? Is this Mom? Elva? Josh? Jimmy? Timmy? Ed? Can you say that again? Oh, you're triggering this? There you go. There you go. Keep going. Okay. Can you say a word? Can you say a word? Can you say what color that is that's blinking? Can you say a word the word that matches that color? You're here. We know you're here. We know you're here.
After a while, activity stopped, so we switched to see if Mary could get a response as well.
Can you touch this and let me know you're there? I'd like to talk to you too. You know what would be really fun? Is if you could make all those lights out shine. Nathan would get a total kick out of that, so would I.
I'd get a kick out of it if you'd make that black box on her left shoulder light up.
This lights up too.
Yeah.
If you're in the other room, can you come in here? Keep hearing knocks.
After 30 minutes and all our efforts, it began to appear that our luck was running
Can you
out.
do that again? Go bump, bump. Steps.
So with many of the other guests collecting outside our hallway, we decided it was time to gather our equipment and end the investigation. As we were leaving, we met up with a few good people we've met before, who shared some of their experiences with us.
I just got my hair pulled on the second floor.
On the second floor?
Yes. It was crazy.
Collecting evidence is something that never happens overnight. It's all a matter of patience and continual investigating of locations like Ashmore Estates. Technically, we had more personal experiences that weren't caught on film than what was. If this building could speak, it would have a lot to say. You just need to listen to the many voices of those who lived and died here. We plan on returning to this historic home of the ones who struggled to survive during those harsh years. And on that next trip, we hope they step out from the shadows.